The Digital Photography Cafe show is brought to you by Focus Pyramid, the autofocus lens calibration tool for your camera.
Welcome to the Digital Photography Cafe show. Join hosts Trevor Current and Joseph Christina as they serve up the hottest photography news and commentary.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. This is episode 190. I'm Joseph Christina here with my co-host Trevor Current. On last week's show, we talked about GoPro Hero Plus getting a touchscreen, LensBaby introduced a Fuji X mount, and Nikon and Apple working on a top secret project. If you haven't watched last week's show, I encourage you to do so. You can find it at digitalphotographycafe.com and our YouTube channel, youtube.com/dphotocafe. Listen with the popular Stitcher, TuneIn, and Xbox Music app, or subscribe through iTunes or RSS.
Hey, we're back. How you doing, my friend?
Happy Father's Day, my friend.
Yes, you too. Happy Father's Day to all the dads out there.
Yes. Yeah.
Finally getting around to getting the show done. This is actually recording Monday, the day after Father's Day. Because,
Right.
we got to take the weekend off to spend with the family, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It is Father's Day for us.
That's right. Hopefully everybody else spent their time with their family and didn't work.
Yeah.
Although you worked a little bit, right?
Yeah, I ended up working
night.
Father's Day. It was an interesting shoot. I was down in Miami Beach, shooting down there. Got to see all these $1 million vehicles, So it's kind of cool.
I know. I saw the photo of the Ferrari you posted on Facebook there.
Yeah, that was a bad Ferrari, right? So
Yeah.
you're looking at like probably $200,000+ in that Ferrari. It's just
easily.
It was beautiful, all custom. It was crazy, but. If you have that kind of money, you just don't know what to do with it. A Ferrari is not a bad thing to grab.
Yeah, that's right. Enjoy your automobiles, right?
Yeah.
You can swing it.
If you can swing it, do it. Absolutely. This last week, we both were kind of on vacation. I ended up taking the kids over to Siesta Key and Turtle Key and Tarpon Springs over on the other coast of Florida, which was a lot of fun. It was kind of relaxing. We basically beach jumped from night to night to night to night. We just went from one beach to the next beach. One was one of the most interesting beaches that I saw was that Siesta Key, which is really odd. Normally, Trev, you go out into the beach and your feet are burning, right? Because of the silica, the sand. You can't even stand on it, right? Well, this beach has, I think it's like 99 point something percent quartz. So literally the sand is made out of quartz and it is cold all the time. Like the heat of the day is hot.
It doesn't conduct the heat.
It's the weirdest thing. Yeah, the sand is cold.
That's interesting.
It's really neat. So we went there. We went to Tarpon Springs, which was interesting. That's where all of the natural sea sponge, all the natural sponge you buy in the stores, that's where it came from for many years, all the way back into like the teens and the 20s and the 30s. And then finally in the 40s, it kind of disappeared the market a little bit because of the advent, of course, overseas of the synthetic sponge. So it was really interesting to see this stuff and the divers doing this, back in the day with literally like hundreds and hundreds of pounds of gear going down there to go and scrape up these sponges, and then they grow back in a couple of years and they get to go and do it again.
Some more, yeah.
Yeah, so it was good.
That's cool. Yeah, I saw you did a periscope from the beach too.
Yeah, I did a couple of periscopes. Had one periscope was like over 100 people. I don't know, a bunch. We were sitting there just hanging out, chatting gear and just photography stuff while listening to those waves crash. I think that actually was from Siesta Key. So it was beautiful. It's really strange. That beach, not only the sand weird, but also the beaches. Instead of a beach being, let's say, 100 feet long, maybe 100 feet wide, and then you're in the water, this is literally, I would say, 2 football fields before you get to the water. So it's they use it.
That's a huge beach.
It's huge. They use it for all the major nationals as far as sandcastle building and there's so many volleyball nets. It's just huge. It literally is huge.
Wow.
So if you guys ever get down to Florida and you're on the West Coast, definitely check out Siesta Key. Definitely worth it. Really cool. So how about you? What did you end up doing last week?
Yeah. So for me last week, it was a little bit of a working trip.
Yeah.
one of my clients is located down in Washington D.C.
Right.
And I wound up having to go down there for a couple days for an on-site meeting with the team, which was really good. Actually, it's good to most of us work virtually, nowadays in this type of connected world.
Sure.
And I mean, you Skype with people, maybe you video chat or whatever, but for the most part, you never really even meet people anymore, So it was really nice to actually get down there, be face to face with the team, and spend some time with them and stuff. That was great. We actually had a really good meeting with Olympus. And we were, kind of learning about what they're up to now, and with their OMD mirrorless camera line and everything that they're doing. And, we were talking shop too, marketing and such. And one of the things that was really cool is they have, they put together this campaign called DSL-ARM. And we always joke about this, right, Joe? I mean, you always joke about it, lugging around 15 pounds of DSLR equipment at a wedding, and your one arm looks like Popeye, right? You say that all the time.
Yeah.
So this campaign is kind of a spin-off of that, and probably while we're talking about it, maybe we'll play the video.
Yeah.
And it's so funny. The guy in the video, his arm is like really long, his fingers drag on the ground, and it's a whole parody about that. And so they have like a 30-second marketing video that they use on their site, and then they put together what they call a mockumentary,
right,
where it's a kind of like a documentary about this guy and how he got the DSL arm. And what he has to go through in life, and it's entertaining. It's really good.
Yeah, it's a really good marketing type of ploy. Let's say it's really cool. I like it. I do like it a lot. Because we talk about it all the time. It's literally when you go, like if I'm going to go shoot and I'm using, let's say, a 5D, and with the battery grip, with the bracket, with a flash on top of the bracket, with a 70-200 or let's say a 24-70 glass on there, or even heavier like some prime, it is like 10 pounds or more. It's extremely weighty, and then to carry that for hours upon hours upon hours, you do. I can see. I love this. It's just perfect. It's the DSL-ARM.
Yeah, it's really funny.
I mean,
honestly, we've been talking about mirrorless technology for a long time now, and there's a couple key players in the game. Surprisingly, neither Canon nor Nikon has any significant offerings in this space yet.
Yeah.
So we're really looking at Sony and Fuji and Olympus and Panasonic as the main players in the mirrorless space. And, I'm really liking what Olympus had to show. Their newest camera with the 5-axis image stabilization, they were showing this video kind of behind the scenes of this filmmaker. And he shoots skateboarding.
Right.
And they show a shot with him riding on a skateboard with the camera on the end of a monopod. And he's rolling on the skateboard, following the other guys. And the video that came out of that, you'd swear was on a Steadicam. It was very smooth. I was very impressed with that.
Yeah.
I mean, we actually looked at each other during the meeting, and I said to him, I'm like, that's really good. That's really good stabilization.
Yeah, they're starting to get it. They're putting it together. They're doing it right, and it's good that they have a different, kind of model. DSLR, I really do think, 2-3 years, DSLRs as they sit will be kind of obsolete. And, I would not, people ask me like, okay, matter of fact, and on the periscope, what do you use, or what would you recommend between this lens or that art lens and that art lens and this camera and that camera? I keep telling them, listen, just buy the lens that you want to use, buy the lens for the company that you want to stick with.
Right.
There is in a story we're going to talk about later on, where there is starting this, kind of bridging that's going on between lenses from camera company to camera company. We'll get into that later. But the idea of just buying the glass, because these cameras they will become obsolescent. They'll become the dinosaurs, really quickly, because things are moving even faster now. The whole idea
Speed of light, man.
Yeah, where mirrorless didn't take hold for a while, and it was like, oh, is it going to go? Is it not going to go? No, no one's going to get rid of their DSLRs. Now all of a sudden, people are seeing that many people that we were saying that, were at the very beginning, we said the mirrorless will work. A lot of these, top guys out there say absolutely not. Mirrorless will never work. Some of them are right now shooting, have migrated to mirrorless already.
Yep.
The ones that were the naysayers 2 or 3 years ago. So it's kind of interesting. It's definitely it's cool how it's going. But anyways, moving on. Apple Watch, love it. Did you buy one? I did not. I'm glad I didn't.
Nope,
according to the news.
I did not either.
Yeah, the news that we just read, right?
Yeah. So as we know, obviously, version 2 of all the devices, the Apple Watch included, is going to be coming out. And now there's rumors of this new Apple Watch having a FaceTime camera in it.
Yep.
So, all of these early adopters that bought this camera or bought this watch spent $300-$400 up to a couple thousand, $17,000 for the high end one.
Yeah.
You're not going to have a FaceTime camera. You're not going to be able to do that Dick Tracy stuff, man.
Yeah,
you can talk in it, but you're not going to do video.
I mean, they should have seen this writing on the wall. Okay, when the iPad came out, the iPad 1, the very first iPad, no camera. iPad 2 comes out, what happens? We have a camera. I mean, the first watch comes out, no camera. Second watch, chances are we'll have a camera. Why would you buy the first one? I don't know. I don't get it. If you want to just get the first one and go put it as a museum piece and stick it someplace, okay. But if you want something that you're going to be using for 2 or 3 years, chances are you're not going to be very happy when everyone else is doing like Star Trek and looking at their, at their watch and talking to it, FaceTime, and then holding their, their watch up at the grocery store and saying, "Honey, is this the right one?" You're not going to have that.
Exactly.
So,
well, I mean, let's be realistic. If you're buying an Apple Watch, you're buying it for you want the latest technology and you have the money to spend on something like that, as it's not a necessity, as where a phone pretty much today is a necessity. And you're not really buying it as a fashion piece. I mean, maybe you are, right? Maybe you think it's fashionable to have the latest tech on your wrist as opposed to a nice Rolex. Me, if I was going for fashion, I'd take the Rolex.
Right.
So, but if you drop that money and got this watch, I mean, good for you, kudos. But, we're going to have this next one coming out, so save your pennies and get ready to upgrade.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm glad I didn't get one. So we'll see what ends up happening. I would guarantee they roll them out within 6 months. It'll be a quick rollout of version 2.
Probably in time for Christmas.
Because version 1 really didn't do too well. Shh, don't tell anybody. But they really didn't do as well as they expected. Yeah, there was a lot of initial hype, but it faded quickly. Very quickly.
Yeah,
so, I bet you these numbers that they're looking at is definitely not great. So anyways, moving on. Adobe Creative Cloud, we talk about it all the time. 2015, brand new version just came out. It has a couple of neat features, dehazing, which you can make something a little hazy, or you can take the hazing away. Black and white slider in there, so you have a little bit better control over of black and whites. That's going to be in LR. That's going to be in Lightroom, and a couple of other features, right, Trev?
Yeah, exactly. There's some nice upgrades to it. There's some nice improvements, feature enhancements. I mean, again, nothing revolutionary, let's say.
Right.
There's better. So they created better Photoshop elements integration with Lightroom.
Right.
To me, which is, I mean, if you're using Photoshop elements, then really you're not doing a lot of Photoshop work in the first place. Because if you were, you'd be running the full version. If you're on Creative Cloud, you have access to Photoshop the full version. So I'm really not sure why you'd be running that. No. But Lightroom is being sold as a standalone. Photoshop Elements is being sold as a standalone. So if you're that level of a user and you're using both apps, well, now you've got better integration.
Yeah, so be it. They're talking about better blur, quote unquote, air quotes, better blur in Photoshop, which is good, but get it right in the camera. Forget about blurring after the fact. They're talking about turbocharge, the healing, and the patch tool, as well as content aware. Those two options are both in Photoshop, guys. And what that's basically boiling down to is they've integrated, or let's say made stronger or better, the Adobe's Mercury graphic engine. They're claiming 120 times faster than what we've seen in CS6. So I get it. They're using the GPU properly. They're doing a lot of other things behind the scenes to really make computation happen quicker and easier for the software. So I like that. So if you boil down everything that really is in this new version, I would just call it the Adobe Mercury graphic engine version or edition or the enhanced.
Update. Yeah, that to me seems like the most significant improvement in this update is the utilization of that software technology. I mean, again, the rest of the stuff, it's fine. If you're using these things, you're going to notice some increase of performance, some of the other benefits. But I think, speeding up the software to take more advantage of the GPU, that's huge.
Yeah.
That's big.
Well, sticking with Adobe, Adobe has Adobe Stock available where you can actually take a look at photos. They have a stock library now. I think it's 40 million stock photographs. And as well as, what else is there? I think it's illustrations as well as graphics. And what's interesting is you can use these. They're directly linked into your Adobe Creative Cloud products. So you can go and directly use these images, and they'll be watermarked, of course, but for a small stipend of $10, you can buy the image. So every image is $10, and they also have a couple of monthly subscriptions that are available, right?
Yeah, and from a designer, this is intriguing. It just makes your life a little easier to have integration with Creative Cloud, that you can go in and search the stock library right from within the software. You can find your images, you can add it. And for comping purposes, it's great. I mean, if they're watermarked, who cares, Then if the client decides, or you decide that you do want to move forward with that particular image, then you go and purchase it. The purchase fee is in lines with what most other people are doing. iStock, the days of dollar stock photos, I mean, those are pretty much gone. iStock has completely changed their model now. I know Big Stock Photo, some of these other places, I mean, pretty much your images are around $10. So the price doesn't really bother me. You can get these subscription plans. You can get 10 images a month for $50 in a subscription, or you can get 750 images a month for $200, which actually is really a pretty good deal at that point if you're using a lot of stock for your design work. Yeah. Now, speaking with photographers and kind of focusing on that market, this may not be all that beneficial to you from that standpoint, other than the fact that if you are a stock shooter, or if you are shooting and want to try and make a few pennies on the side through stock, you do have the ability to do that and offer your images through Adobe Stock, right?
They have a subsidiary company, and I don't know how they pronounce it. It's Photolia. Let's go with
something
that. Like that. And it's a separate, like a subsidiary, separate business that Adobe owns that allows you. That's where those 40 million images are, reside. You can
basically
you can get an account. Exactly. You can get an account. You can upload your stock there, and then you'd be kind of in the mix. For people to use. So it definitely is interesting. That 750 images for $200 a month, like you were talking about, as far as design studios, that's really pretty cheap. 750 images to be able to comp out stuff to clients and have a good array to pick through. It could be very valuable. I really do like it, and obviously it's got a good API that's connecting back and forth with these people. Right. And even at the bottom line of $10 an image, I mean, that's cheap. If you're putting together an ad campaign, you got 3 or 4 or 5 images. I mean, what does it cost you? $40-$50. I mean, the client's going to pay this anyways, and then some. So I do like it. I do like what they're doing there.
Yeah.
And, that whole connectivity.
Honestly, guys, we are photographers here, and we want to promote, doing, these photo shoots, these one-off sessions where we're, custom work for clients and stuff like that. But we have to look at reality, and those days are kind of gone. Yeah. We don't get the opportunity to do a lot of those types of custom shoots anymore.
I tell you what, Trev, I tell you one thing, which when we were having this conversation, it just came to mind, and I want to put it out there, is there was such this race to the bottom for all these stock agencies that it just went from extremely expensive for stock photography all the way down to the bottom, like we were saying, $1 a piece, right? And now,
Right.
now they're getting back to that about $10, kind of like that equilibrium where they're all going to stay around, which I like that. Thank God, right? So that's
Yeah.
really good for stock photography as a whole.
Yeah, exactly. And you're going to get some exposure through this. I mean, as we get the adoption of designers and agencies utilizing this, I mean, you're going to get exposure, and this is an opportunity, like I said, to make a few dollars on the side.
Yeah.
I mean, the days of making a living,
Yeah, that's
as a stock shooter, I don't think so.
kind of probably that ship has probably sailed. So anyways, guys, we got a lot more for you when we get back from hearing from one of our sponsors.
Are you frustrated with slightly out of focus images when you know your autofocus spot was dead on? It's simply not your fault. From manufacturer to manufacturer, and even lens copy to lens copy, there are slight variances to the exact spot where light is being focused onto the sensor. Finally, there's a product that allows you to compensate for those variances and make sharper images immediately. Focus Pyramid, the autofocus lens calibration tool, is an absolute must for every photographer. If you want to make the sharpest images possible, then you need to take control over your camera's focusing system. With the Focus Pyramid, you can calibrate all of your lenses on your lunch break. The Focus Pyramid makes lens calibration quick and easy at an affordable price. So give your lenses a new lease on life and take your photography to the next level. Head over to focuspyramid.com/DPC and get an additional 10% off just for being a show listener.
All right, so we're back, and we've got a story from DxO. They have been around for a while. They produce software. I'm sure you've probably heard of them. And now they've got this interesting kind of add-on camera for your iPhone. It kind of sticks into the Lightning port, and it basically utilizes your phone as the interface while it has an off-board camera and sensor that's doing, the heavy lifting. I don't know. It looks kind of interesting.
Yeah. You were we were talking off camera, and you were saying how it really had an appearance or a look of the the Coolpix 910. And when I brought that up, I'm like,
from way
damn,
back in the day. Yeah,
it really does. It has that same type of shape and look. I get it. I think it's kind of cool. I think it has a couple of downsides. One, obviously, it's an external thing, so that's another piece you have to carry in your pocket. Obviously, it's not a camera; it connects into it. Number two, I don't like that it's only connected through the Lightning port. That's a very small port, and this is a big chunk, at the bottom. And I can see someone smacking it and breaking off the Lightning port inside the phone.
Yes.
So, I mean, that's, on the downside. I do like that it's it's an actual full camera that has a 1-inch sensor or something in there, 20 megapixels, 1.8. So it's pretty speedy glass at 32 millimeter equivalent. So I do like that. I like that a lot. And another thing that I do like here is that now, since you have that connectivity between your camera, let's call it, that's connected, and your phone, those high-end, quote unquote, images get directly dumped onto your phone. That means that now you'll be able to share through social media or wherever you want to upload these to better images, hopefully, than what the iPhone is going to be able to get you. So I do like it. I mean, it definitely has some, I would call it intrigue for me. The price tag of being $600, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, this kind of feels like like an add-on lens attachment type of thing, but it really is not. It's beyond
it's a full
that.
Camera.
It is a full camera. So you are paying a couple bucks for it. I am concerned about the structure of this thing as well. I mean, looking at the photos, with it plugging into the Lightning port at the base of the phone,
right.
Obviously you're holding it sideways at that point. And if it's only being held in there by the Lightning plug, I would be very concerned about that getting broken.
Right.
If it had more of a framing connectivity to where it kind of snapped around the phone and the plug was just a byproduct, it just plugged in, it didn't have any pressure on it or something, I would think that from a design standpoint that would be better. But
yeah, these
we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
It starts
these
shipping
comments
in September,
Exactly, September. These comments, like I was going to say, are just our comments, just looking at what the design looks like and speculating on how it's going to end up being. It could, maybe they have something, some kind of science here where we don't have that problem. but that just by looks, face value, that looks like it could be an issue, but who knows, maybe it's not. Like you said, we're looking at September, so it's not that far away, and you'll be able to pick one of these up, so it's kind of cool.
Yes.
So moving on, this was the story that I was telling you guys about at the beginning of the show, at the start, and the idea of buying glass and for buying glass and keeping it forever, and not buying a body and keeping it forever, because they're like toilet paper. You throw them out and you get a new body, because they're constantly moving forward. They're upgrading continuously. So they're reinventing, right? And, it's constantly moving. So always buy glass. Well, Sony understands this, and Sony knows that one of the major players out there is Canon. As far as a competitor, of course Nikon too, but they know that Canon is probably the leader when it comes to the DSLR market as far as the numbers go. So what they did is, not only did they have their camera out there, the A7R2, the new one, but also it has the functionality to snap on using an adapter the new or any Canon glass, any past Canon glass. But the caveat here is that it supposedly will autofocus extremely fast. And that was one of the issues when we were in New York the last time, and we were looking at the A7 when it first came out. When you put on a piece of glass, it was Zeiss or it didn't matter what it was, the autofocusing system was just lethargic at best.
Yeah. I mean, to say slow is an understatement. It really was lethargic. Yeah.
So now
this is interesting. So if through this new and improved adapter, it can transmit that information into the sensor faster and get the autofocus to lock up properly, this could really be a great option for Canon shooters who may be looking to make the switch to a full frame mirrorless and be able to utilize all your glass.
Yeah, it could be a game changer for bringing the DSLR market to a specific mirrorless company or a mirrorless camera, So this could definitely be the first time that we saw that, let's say, actually work. So it's looking very, very interesting for sure. I can imagine putting on a piece of your Canon glass that you really, really like, and now snap it onto the Sony, the A7R2, and shoot some 4K video with it, which obviously you're not doing with your 5Ds or whatnot. So it's very interesting. It definitely could be that one factor that moves some of that DSLR market over to the other platform. So we'll see, I guess. Yeah, absolutely.
And the A7R2 is a nice looking camera from specs. I mean, 42.4 megapixel. We know it's full frame. 399 focal plane phase detection autofocus points.
That's pretty good.
This is good stuff. I mean, it's definitely worth trying to get your hands on it and testing it out for sure.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's not cheap. You're looking at over $3,000 for it. So, you think mirrorless, it's going to be cheaper than my DSLR. No, it's not. There's a lot of technology that goes in there that kind of warrants the price, obviously. Just having a full frame sensor in there alone, I would say, warrants the expense, because it definitely, I'm a full frame shooter. I want to try some of the more, the smaller frame, like a crop and maybe a micro four thirds. I want to look at some of the newer models that are out there and maybe do some shoots with them just to kind of compare on how they're. My understanding is they're doing a lot better, and they're being able to produce really nice depth of field, even with the smaller sensors that they weren't able to do at the OnStart. So I definitely want to pick up a couple for demo and test. So once we do get some of those, maybe we'll kind of share it with you guys too. See how they're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Now it's kind of interesting doing our research this week. We came across a website that had posted some photos shot on this A7R2, and wow, I don't know. I mean, to say that we weren't impressed is, it really was not very good. I mean, there were a couple nighttime shots that we saw that looked really nice. I mean, they were really well exposed, great color, great contrast. But some of the stuff that you would think you would be able to do a little bit easier just did not look good. Yeah. And I think it's partly due to the photographer.
Yeah, I think it's pilot error. A lot of these.
Pilot error.
Definitely. For sure. Just by looking at it. I mean, I look at a lot of images just recently, right? Judged a contest recently, which was kind of fun to take a look at a lot of folks' images and kind of be one of the, what was it, about 3 or 4 judges. I look at images on a regular basis, and I talk to people about them. Some people come to me and say, "Can you look at my portfolio? What do I need? What's missing? What do you think about this or that?" And yeah, these images did not really. Most of them did not kind of.
They didn't do the equipment justice, nor did they do the level of photographer justice.
Yeah.
And my feeling is, if it's not the best, don't show it.
Yeah.
I mean, if the equipment can't do it, that's a problem. If the equipment can do it and it is pilot error, then don't show it.
Yeah.
If you are an award-winning photographer, then you should know what looks good. And these certainly did not look good.
Yeah. No. So we'll just call that the not named site. So, but that's all right.
It's one of those. Mama always said, if you don't have something nice to say, don't say anything. Well, we'll say it. We just leave it more anonymous.
But I'm eager. I am as a Canon shooter. I am eager to see what Sony has done with this. I want to grab one of these Sonys and slap on some of this like a ton Canon glass and see how quickly it actually pulls focus, number one. And number two, how accurate is that focus? That is first and foremost. That's primary right there. Because even if it's fast,
Photo Plus Expo's coming.
Yeah.
And maybe that's a really good testing ground. I know we looked at it the last time at Photo Plus, and we'll go grab an A7R2 and we'll try and get the Canon rep to bring a lens over for us, and we'll see what we can get out of it.
I'll have some glass.
Either
in my
that
bag.
or we'll walk up the street to B&H and we'll test out the equipment in their shop.
That works too. Or I'll just bring a bag and I'll grab some lenses. So anyways, moving on. We talk always about alternatives to Adobe products, and Photoshop is one of them. And we've talked about GIMP. We've talked about the Corel Aftershot Pro 2. We've talked about other things, but Affinity is kind of a newer one out there that we've seen recently that kind of popped up on our radar. And we looked at this video, and it really looks quite interesting. And I think a lot of it has to do with the way it's designed. It almost has a feel that the folks originally created this almost as a vector-based piece of software, and then moved on from there. So they really get vector, and you can see that in their manipulations and their 3D manipulations and how they can move things around and do selections and whatnot. It's really kind of interesting.
Yeah, well, their Affinity Designer software, that's the vector-based software, and that actually was awarded Mac App Store's Best of 2014.
Yeah.
So, that's got to mean something there. I mean, that's some quality for sure.
Yeah.
And so now they're moving into the photo space, and they have a beta version that is available for testing now.
Yeah.
We'll have a link in the show notes, but you can head over to their website and get on the beta list, download the software, try it out. But what's interesting is when this actually comes out of beta and goes live, a one-time fee of $50. All right.
Yeah.
So if this, in fact, will serve the purpose, that's a great price to pay for sure.
Yeah, so I grabbed a copy of the beta. It was 180 meg download. So that's pretty comparable to a Lightroom download. I always like to see what the size is and how bloated it is or not bloated or how big or how small. So figure 180 meg, like you said, is only for a Mac. It definitely looks interesting. And like you were saying, their design version, won the award back in 2014. And I really do feel the photo version has that element to it. It really feels like the back end of it is very vector, even though it's not. But that engine, I think, is the underlying engine that's in this Affinity
it's
Photo.
the user experience too. I mean, people have to understand user experience, and Adobe has never been known for creating a great user experience with their software.
Right.
It's not intuitive. You really have to know what you're doing. And once you learn it and know what you're doing, it's great, right? I mean, we all use it. You figure out Photoshop, you can do pretty much everything you need in it. But it's definitely not intuitive. And for somebody new coming into the game, something else may be the way to go.
Yeah. So we'll put a link into the show notes on where you can go and pick up a copy of this beta version. We want to hear from you. What do you guys think about it? Just like any of the other ones. I do like the idea of a one-time buy-in, $50, and then you'll get your
That's
updates
right.
and
I'm sure
whatnot.
there'll be some form of upgrade cost as the years go on, but still, to get into it for $50, that's an inexpensive application.
Absolutely, especially if it does what you need it to do. And that's it. So anyways, Trev, we definitely need to run. We're getting long here.
Yes. So if our listeners and viewers want to connect with you outside of the show, what's the best way for them to reach you?
The best way is to find me on Twitter, and that's at Joseph Christina, and that's Christina without an H.
Excellent. And you can connect with me on Twitter. It's at Trevor Current.
All right, Trevor. I can't believe another week has come and gone, right? So
I know.
So quick, right? So, all right, guys, we are done for another week. You can get all the show notes from this episode by visiting digitalphotographycafe.com/190. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/dphotocafe, or call our comment line at 440-345-6707. Once again, that's 440-345-6707, and we'll see you next week.
You've been watching the Digital Photography Cafe show with Trevor Current and Joseph Christina. Subscribe to our YouTube channel with any compatible device by visiting youtube.com/dphotocafe. Be sure to subscribe to our audio feed through iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn, and Xbox Music apps, or through RSS. Visit digitalphotographycafe.com for show notes and to connect with your host.